here we are at Agawa Bay Campground in Lake Superior Provincial Park.
It is leg 9 of the epic Thunder Bay Road Trip 2025.
We're sitting inside not because it's raining, but because it's a little loud between the highway and the crashing waves and the neighbors that like to play music. So
we're sitting in the Alto, and also we would normally record our videos the morning that we leave. We're doing this the evening before because tomorrow is a big driving day, and somehow we managed to kill at least half an hour making a few short notes. So we're trying to give ourselves that time back in the morning for extra driving. Hooray!
So it is currently the middle of August. It's in fact Joel's birthday.
Yay!
And we've this was a 2-night stay. It's for our first time here. We're on site 108. It's a service site. It's a pull-through. It's very close to neighbors and so on, but it has you can clearly see Lake Superior, and we're not right in front of it. Didn't manage to get one of those, but we have a definite view of the lake, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It makes for a little breeze, which helps keeps the bugs down. That's quite good.
When we arrived yesterday, it was a beautiful sunny day. So we just kind of set up quickly and then just got in a hike as soon as we possibly could, because we knew today the weather was going to be iffy.
Right. And as it turned out, the weather was better than originally predicted. Still happy to have a relaxing day.
Yeah.
The hike that we took was on something called the Coastal Trail, which is a series of smaller segments end to end. You could hike it, I don't know how long, very, very far. When you check in, the campground map comes with a very handy guide of all of the trails and descriptions of the different trails, what they're like and what they
not detailed descriptions, just basically where they are and how long and how difficult they are, but not here's the kinds of things you'll see on the trail.
Yeah, it's not like a discovery guide or something like that, but it's certainly more information than here's a trail, it's this long.
Right. Yes.
Which you get in some of the parks.
Yeah.
So really the park is enormous. We're in the Agawa Bay Campground, which is something like 65 kilometers from Rabbit Blanket Campground, which is the other campground in the park. And we will drive south before we hit the park boundary, and you could drive north from Rabbit Blanket before you hit the park boundary. This is a huge park, and it is filled with trails and rivers that you can paddle. Lots of things to do in this park, but the campgrounds are nowhere near anything.
Yes, and nowhere near each other. So plan accordingly. In terms of park store or anything like that, no.
There's a park store in the visitor center in the Agawa Bay Campground where you can get swag and stinky soap and things like that.
But not groceries.
Not groceries.
So
there are some basic camping supplies.
The closest groceries are in Waaay to the north, which is an hour north of here, or I guess the Voyageur.
Down around Batchewana Bay.
Yeah, which is an hour south of here. Right. So, yeah, again,
it's
plan
accordingly. It's remote.
If we were in Rabbit Blanket, it wouldn't be so bad to go to Waaay.
Rabbit Blanket is about 35 kilometers to Waaay, so, half an hour, 40 minutes. And there's, all the shopping and anything you would need to do in Waaay is fine. Yeah. But from Agawa Bay, you're really in the middle of forest and lake and all of that good stuff. In terms of some of the other facilities, the comfort stations, there's one in our part of the campground. The campground is sort of divided into 2 sections. There's a second comfort station further along, and they are pretty modern.
Yeah, modern, small, but big enough. And I had a shower this morning, and it was gloriously pick your on and off and pick your temperature. So that was very nice.
The laundry facilities slightly lacking.
Yes. I mean, they're there. In our comfort station, the dryer happens to be broken right now. But
it's cheap.
But it's cheap. So the laundry at our comfort station says $1.25, I think, for a wash, and $2 for a dry, and the other comfort station is $2 and $2. They're both working at the other comfort station, though.
It's, you pay for quality.
Yeah.
So there are also quite a number of kaibos. Our site actually happens to be adjacent to a kaibo. I was very concerned about that. It turns out that the prevailing winds prevent the proximity to the kaibo from being a concern. The kaibos are also, they're just pit toilets, but they're fancy as pit toilet kaibos go. Mm-hmm. There are sinks. Some of them have mirrors. There's soap. And the one that's near us, interestingly, has something that we've never seen before, which is on the wall opposite the sink that you wash your hands in. There are big double kitchen sinks that you can do dishes in. So,
yeah,
good on you, Lake Superior Provincial Park.
Deluxe outhouses.
Very nice. Fill and dump is near the front gate. It looks like it's a kind of a teardrop single lane dump then fill. Pretty standard stuff. The roads are generally pretty good. Mm-hmm. Some of the roads are, there's the usual potholiness here and there. We've seen much worse on this trip. So, and
there's a lot of the main access roads, not just the road, are paved and they're in good condition. Paved.
Yeah. So some of the busiest loops are asphalt, and so that helps quite a lot. Cell phone service has been pretty reasonable, I would say. Yeah. Not super fast all the time, but pretty steady. We've had no trouble getting email or looking things up, and that's cannot be said for the drive to the campground.
Yeah, because other parts, because you're driving for quite a while to get through the park from one end to the other, and you go through long periods where there is not even cell phone,
right? Let
alone data. So we were happy to see that we actually can use data here.
Right. The visitor center is at the Agawa Bay campground. It is very fancy. Yeah. Quite nice. Mm-hmm. Different than we've seen in other places. So they have the park store. They've got an information desk where there's a helpful naturalist to tell you, this is what's going on and where to find things.
And give you more detail about the hikes, for example.
And then they have some lecture space, like little classrooms with fancy projectors and, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. On the night we came in, we went and heard an interesting presentation by a fellow. He doesn't work in the park. He works with a nature conservancy that is very interested in understanding what goes on with wolves in the area sort of between where we are and, say, Sault Ste. Marie.
Kind of surrounding Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
He was just a volunteer with that organization. But the talk he gave with, a very good PowerPoint, which he used properly.
That's right.
Was super interesting. So we're planning to go to another drop-in event tonight.
They're having night at the museum at the visitor center, so they've got a bunch of different displays and booths and people you can talk to, and they're keeping the visitor center open later than they normally would. So this is, I guess, the benefits of going to a park like this on a Saturday in August, where there's extra special events going on.
Yeah, and they really do go the extra mile here, even so far as to visit campsite by campsite and invite people to come to things.
Which is very cool. We've been sitting having dinner and somebody's walking up, and I thought,
Yeah, what
They
did we do?
They think we're feeding bears or something, and they're going to give us heck. But no, they're just letting us know about the exciting things going on at the visitor center, and that was very much appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
If we were on a more extended trip, and possibly if we were staying in the Rabbit Blanket campground rather than the Agawa Bay campground, we might be able to avail ourselves of quite a bit more hiking and paddling. The swimming is in Lake Superior, so the water is chilly. But the beach, certainly at our campground, is a very long beach. It goes the length of the campground. It's quite nice.
Yeah,
I have a couple of pictures.
I went in like shin deep this morning. Actually, just to rinse out a rag, but it wasn't bone chilling. It wasn't painful or anything, and I have seen people swimming in it. So it's a reasonable part of Lake Superior, I guess.
And it's the sandy part of the beach is very sandy and nice, and the part by the water is more stony. Right?
Stony, yeah, rounded stones.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. I think we would take a closer look at Rabbit Blanket as a campground. When I was looking at it online, honestly, I felt like there wasn't a lot to pick from that was suitable to the kind of camping that we like to do. But we would take a closer look if we were coming back this way, I think, because a lot of the trails and a lot of the paddling and places like Old Woman Bay, which is a very popular spot for people to stop and hang out, those are much closer to Rabbit Blanket. And of course, you are closer to waaay at Rabbit Blanket than you are to Agawa Bay. Mm-hmm. So it's handy if you need to get into town for any reason.
At this park, the thing to be aware of is that it is sandwiched on a thin strip between the highway and the lake. So no matter how you cut it, you will get highway noise. The sites that are closer to the highway, you are not only hearing but actually seeing all the vehicles on the major highway, the Trans-Canada. It's right there. So we're glad that we were able to move to this site, which is closer to the water, but you definitely hear the highway. And so you just have to be aware of that.
Definitely something to keep in mind. So there are some sites that we thought were better or worse. One of the other things about the pull-through sites in the section that we're in, many of which, given that they're pull-throughs and that it's all pine forest and the privacy is what it is, it's made up for a little bit by the view of the lake, of course, but you have to be careful of which sites you pick, because the power posts, for whatever reason, are very conveniently located for half of the sites and therefore very inconveniently located for the other half. This is one of the more extreme cases of it, because we would have needed no extension at all if we were on the site next to us. But on our site, I had to use 2 extensions to get around the back of the site and all the way over to where the shore power is.
I can only assume that the sites were built first and the power came later, because you'd think, like, why wouldn't they just always put the fire pit opposite to the, like, away from the power thing, so that you were always putting your trailer near the power?
Or the person who planned it all out had a kind of a personal life philosophy that there are winners and losers in this world. So we're going to reinforce that with how far you have to go to get shore power. We haven't been here long enough to really give the park a completely fair shake. There's much, much, much more to do in a huge park like this than certainly we even thought about doing, let alone attempted to do, just because of where we are in our epic Thunder Bay road trip. However, I think we agree that this might be a place to stop on the way somewhere else. We wouldn't necessarily book an extended vacation here just because you're putting a lot of eggs in a very remote basket.
Yes. And it's neat being by the beach and the lake, having that view and everything, but we're not really beach people. And so what is this particular, especially Agawa Bay in particular,
Right.
doesn't hold a lot for us. We did have one nice hike yesterday, but there's not too much around. Again, it's mostly in the northern part of the park.
Right. So there you have it. Agawa Bay Campground in Lake Superior Provincial Park, leg 9. Tomorrow is a big road day and a short stop, which we'll talk about anon. So here's just a little bit of supplemental commentary.
We were just at an event at the visitor center, which apparently they do annually, called Night at the Museum, and the focus is on the park being a dark sky preserve, which we did not realize it was. So they had all.
So we have a comment card, and we're going to be telling the park ranger, hey, tell people about this.
Yeah. And so they had all kinds of stations that you could go to where they talked about nocturnal animals, about the night constellations, nocturnal insects such as moths.
What they had to do to get their Dark Sky Preserve rating from the Royal Society of Dark Sky Folks.
and how you preserve the dark sky environment in terms of the right kinds of lighting and that sort of thing. So it was all very well done by a lot of very enthusiastic people, and we spent a good long time there, right? We were there
a couple of hours.
Yeah, so it was very interesting and fun. So and
And on the way home, pretty nice sunset sky.
Amazing sunset sky.
Throw a picture in there too.